All right, today we're going to unlock the power of your mind. We're going to explore some of those surprising habits that actually signal brilliance, and we'll see how the simple act of learning can radically, and I mean radically, change our world. So let me ask you something. Is your desk, maybe a little bit of a creative explosion? Do you find your best ideas striking you after midnight? And hey, be honest, do you ever find yourself talking through a tough problem out loud? If you answered yes to any of those, well, you're in some pretty good company. Turns out these aren't just little quirks, they can actually be the hallmarks of a brilliant mind hard at work. So let's dig into how these habits, and the very way we learn, can reshape everything from our own potential to, well, society itself. Okay, first up, let's look at some of the unconventional habits of brilliant minds. You might just recognize a few of these in yourself. Okay, what about talking to yourself? Far from being eccentric, it's actually a powerful cognitive tool. Geniuses like Albert Einstein did it all the time. See, when you talk through an idea, you're literally externalizing your thoughts. You're organizing all that complexity and pretty much giving yourself a private lecture to lock it all into your memory. And that cluttered desk, yeah, it's not just clutter, it's creative chaos. And that chaos can be a powerful catalyst for innovation. Just think of people like Steve Jobs or Mark Twain who totally thrived in messy environments. The idea here is that a disorganized space frees your mind from rigid linear thinking, and it helps spark connections you would have otherwise totally missed. You know how people think dawdling means you're not paying attention? Well, it turns out the truth is often the exact opposite. It's actually a super powerful tool for concentration. By engaging parts of your brain that aren't being used to listen, you're preventing your mind from daydreaming and actually improving your focus. Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks are the perfect example. They're just filled with sketches that were part of his actual thinking process. And hey, for all you night owls out there, there's some interesting research suggesting a link between staying up late and higher intelligence. It makes sense, right? The uninterrupted quiet of the late hours provides the perfect environment for that deep, creative work. People like Barack Obama and Charles Darwin were both famous for their late-night productivity. Okay, so we've seen the signs of an active mind, but what if we want to be a little more intentional about it? How can we actively build a better, more efficient brain? Let's look at a few proven techniques for learning way more effectively. Let's talk about how you actually study. Most of us, we use a method called blocking. We focus on one topic, try to master it, and then move on to the next. But get this, research shows a far more effective method is something called interleaving. This just means mixing up related topics. Now, it feels harder in the moment, I know, but by forcing your brain to constantly retrieve different bits of info, you end up building much stronger, more flexible, and longer-lasting memories. It's a total game changer. This whole idea of mixing things up is especially useful when you're trying to tackle really dense information, like a scientific paper. The trick is, don't read it from start to finish like a novel. Instead, try this graduate school hack. Start with the abstract for the quick summary. Then jump right to the conclusions to see the final takeaway. After that, look at the figures and captions. That's where the core data lives. Only then should you go back to the intro and the middle sections if you still need more detail. It's just a much more efficient way to pull out what really matters. Learning isn't just about absorbing facts. It's about thinking critically. This framework right here shows you exactly how to do it. It starts with identification, just breaking an argument down into its basic parts. Then you clarify. Are there any fuzzy terms? You establish the facts, look for contradictions, and then you evaluate the logic. Does the conclusion actually follow from the evidence? This whole systematic process is your best defense in a world that's just full of misinformation. Okay, now that we've seen how to sharpen our own minds, let's zoom out. Way out. Because the impact of learning and education doesn't just stop with us as individuals. It scales up, and it has the power to transform entire societies and solve some of the world's biggest problems. 1.02 trillion. What is that? Well, according to one estimate, that's the annual economic value of health that's lost in the US alone, simply because a portion of adults don't have a college education. That number is just staggering, and it's a huge demonstration of the link between education and public health. Or how about this one? 171 million. According to UNESCO, that's how many people could be lifted out of extreme poverty if all the students in low-income countries just learned basic reading skills. Education isn't just about knowledge. It's one of the most powerful anti-poverty tools we have, period. To see this in action, let's look at an absolutely incredible real-world example from Zimbabwe. So, before 1980, under colonial rule, the education system was deeply discriminatory against Black students. But after independence, the new government rolled out this massive reform, making education free, compulsory, and accessible to everyone. And the results of this reform were just wild, because researchers could compare two groups, the people who were too old to benefit and the kids who were just the right age. The impact was stunning. The children who experienced the new system, those who were 15 and under in 1980, ended up getting, on average, 3 extra years of schooling. But get this, the story doesn't even end there. Years later, researchers followed up and the long-term effects were profound. For each additional year of school, there was an over 11% drop in the probability of depression symptoms and nearly a 10% drop for anxiety. I mean, that's one of the clearest demonstrations we have that education isn't just about learning, it's a fundamental pillar of public and mental health. And beyond health, education is the very bedrock of democracy itself. School is where we first get to practice being citizens. Think about it. A mock election teaches you how to vote. Running a school newspaper teaches you how to hold power accountable. A civic club teaches you how to get involved with your community. These aren't just after-school activities. They are literally the training grounds for being an active citizen. So, from the little quirks of a genius all the way to the health of an entire nation, the power of learning is, well, it's immense. And that brings us to a final, more philosophical thought about this endless human pursuit. You know, the word philosophy literally translates from ancient Greek as the love of wisdom. And that phrase reflects this core human drive we all have, not just to know things, but to understand them, to question them, and to seek out these fundamental truths about our world and, about ourselves. Ultimately, the pursuit of knowledge is about so much more than just data and skills. When we learn about other people, their history, their culture, their science, their art, we build empathy. And through that understanding, we build trust. These are the essential human ingredients that hold everything together, from our closest friendships to our entire civilization. And that's exactly why education can never be a finished product. It's not a destination we just arrive at. It's a lifelong mindset. It's a commitment to staying curious, to seeking understanding, and to constantly growing. And that right there is the true engine of all personal and societal progress. We live in an age where there is more knowledge available right at our fingertips than at any other point in all of human history. So the only real question left is, what part of it will you go out and discover next?